sidewalks were filled with girls in dazzling kimonos who would come from the nearby shrine, as well as the usual Akihabara otaku. The place was even more chaotic than usual. Come to think of it, May Queen should still be open too. Ferris and Mayuri both said that they were working there today. It's just those two at the condo, huh? Ryoki could be there too, I guess. It's okay, right? It was hard to imagine Moika doing anything to Maho. For example, attacking her. Moika had no reason to do that. Even if I knew that in my head, it didn't make controlling my emotions any easier. It bugged me enough last night that I'd barely been able to sleep. If I saw the two of them living together without any kind of problem, maybe I'd feel better. I hurried to Ferris's condo. Welcome, Master Okabe. Hiroki, the butler, welcomed me. He was the ultimate butler, who had taken care of Ferris after her parents died and left her all alone. He still helped her in her work and was one of the few people that she trusted completely. I'm sorry, sir. The mistress is out at the moment. Oh yeah, I know. I came to see, Maho. Two of them are in the guest room. Please come in. Thank you. Let me know if you need anything, sir. Hiroki spun around 180 degrees with the same trained and effortless movement as always, then to take the shortest path back to his room. Oh dear. He must have tripped because he staggered slightly and stopped. My apologies, sir. You alright? And perhaps I'm tired. How embarrassing. Oh no. I'll be fine once I get a little rest. Excuse me. His expression didn't change, but the tone of Kuryoki's voice was slightly embarrassed as he headed for his room. It's rare. Usually so robotic. I can't believe I just saw him stagger in front of a guest. He said he was tired. Has something been stressing him out? No. Now I needed to worry about Maho. Maho, you there? Okabe, come in. What the hell? I was stunned as I came into the room. It was definitely the same guest room I'd been in several times before. Probably. But everything about it had changed. First, the bed was gone. Had been replaced by a big desk and a low Japanese table. Maho was sitting at the desk, glaring at his 16-inch laptop as she sipped coffee from a mug. There was a small laptop on the low table, and Moika was kneeling directly on the carpet in front of her, legs splayed, tapping away at the keyboard. Behind them was a steel bookshelf. I could see English language journals, fashion magazines sticking out of it. Though yesterday this had been a guest room, in less than a day it had been transformed into Maho and Moika's workspace. I'm almost done. Can you sit over here? Maho put down the coffee cup with a looking away from the screen, which was filled with complicated and constantly changing 3D graphs. Moika tapped at the key silently, without even bothering to look at me. What the hell's going on here? The world line change again? Quickly covered my mouth with my hand, but the two of them were so engrossed in their work they didn't respond at all. There we go. When she hit a stopping point, Maho spun around in her chair to face me. Hello, Okabe. She didn't seem to think anything of it as out of the ordinary. Did you come to see how I was doing? That's nice of you. Yeah. Sorry to have you come all this way, but I have to do Moika's interview right now. That's fine, but can you explain how this room got wrecked? Wrecked? I think it's quite a nice environment. Wasn't this much of a mess yesterday? Maho seemed confused for a moment, but finally seemed to understand what I was saying. It's dangerous to go walking around, so I have to do my research here, right? So I reorganized things to make it easier to work. Reorganized? Far beyond what I'd call reorganization. The Daru nor I were very good at cleaning, but we weren't this bad. You get all this together yourself? That's right. Kyoji said she'd write her article here, so we came up with a list of all the furniture and materials we need. Right? You get a desk and a bookshelf on such short notice. You can write articles anywhere. They're so far behind the times. You can get most anything off the net in a day these days. I'd asked Dr. Maho what she wanted and ordered off the net. Bear with drink. I was sure. Sure of what? No, nothing. But the world line had changed and I hadn't realized it. Evidently, I'd been worried over nothing. You put the desk and bookshelf together on your own? We asked the butler. He's really amazing. Oh, so that's why he was tired. I explained a lot, but just hearing all this had exhausted me. I found a place to sit down and... Oops. Cut my foot on something. I looked down to see a thick book. Its pages open. What's this? Leave that there, because I'm going to read it later. Make sure you don't turn any pages. Later? About 19 hours from now, as a rough estimate. You got a bookshelf? Why not put it away if you're not reading it? I'm going to start reading it again soon, so it makes no logical sense to put it back on the shelf each time. It's not a very scientific approach. Is that how it works? Looked at the floor and saw 4 other books open. It wasn't all. The carpet was strewn with papers, used cups of instant ramen, bath towels, handkerchiefs, and other things. Bone clothes were lying there too. I saw a skirt, a t-shirt, a blouse, socks, tights, and other items of clothing. It was a lot like when I visited Moika's house on the other world line before all this. Evidently neither Moika nor Maho were the type to worry about keeping things clean. There was enough space around the low table to move, but there was enough junk around them where Moika was sitting that it would be impossible to sit next to her. Can I move anything that's not a book or paper? Go ahead. Okay. Given the permission, I leaned over to pick up a pink towel. Huh? It wasn't a towel. It was a pink bra. My brain utterly failed to process this new development, and I froze with my hand still holding it high in the air. Moika was looking at me blankly. No, this is... well... Ray? You can't just go touching a girl's underwear. I couldn't help it. I screamed and threw the bra away. Moika glanced downwards. Her cheeks were slightly flushed. Her hands quickly moved to cover her chest. I didn't mean anything by it. I tried as best I could to get out of my mind and found a space in the corner that was still relatively clean and sat down. Drinks are self-service. The fridge is over there. There was a round pink fridge in the corner with plastic cups on top. You want a fridge too? It's so convenient. You don't have to leave to get drinks. Yeah, Daru. I guess that's what happens when you get 2 people together who lack basic survival skills. That's just your subjective opinion. I prefer to think of it as a space maximized for creative output. Huh? It looks like I've been worried over nothing after all. If nothing else, Moika didn't seem to feel any animosity towards Maho, and Maho seemed to be enjoying the company. All of the 2 of them picking out furniture together honestly seemed kind of cute. I was glad I came back to check on things. I was able to sleep just fine tonight. My task completed, I could have just left, but I decided to stay, watch the 2 of them a while longer. Alright, Kiryu, ready to start the interview? Okay. Moika closed the laptop and moved it to the side, then started to go through her bag. But what exactly are you doing here? An interview. An interview? We were supposed to do it in the hotel yesterday, actually. I'm working on a special article for Business magazine at Art Rewrite. The special is on the front lines of artificial intelligence research. I'm supposed to write about Maho, what she's done and what she is working on now. I can find all that from the net. So I thought maybe I could start with a long interview with Dr. Maho. Didn't expect you to be so serious about your job. I like to write. The Alpha World line, Monika's job was just a cover to hide her workers around her. Even then, she'd been fired for incompetence, as they were called. This world line, she seems to be a hard worker. Is she actually working as a rounder? She's done so much for me, so the least I can do is help her with her work, I think. It'd be good for me if more people learned about artificial intelligence, too. Ready, Kiryu? Yeah. Monika nodded, and the interview began. Or, it didn't actually. Well, this is a problem. I knew Kiryu wasn't the talkative type, but I didn't think it was this bad. I'm sorry. Even if I could tell Moika was doing a horrible job, it wasn't even an interview. Instead of asking questions, Moika just sat there with the memo pad and ball and pin in her hands, completely unmoving. She looked like she was about to cry. Maho and I tried our best to help move things along, but it didn't work. What should we do? Try another day? My schedule's really tight. I see, then we should finish it today. But I don't think we can turn you into an extrovert right away. I'm sorry. Moika apologized in a soft, thin voice. She still looked like she could cry in frustration at any moment. Oh, no. Don't get the wrong idea, I'm not blaming you. That was just the prep work. I'm listing the conditions we need to examine in order to solve the problem. Problem? Yes. Want to complete the interview. That's the problem. And so if Kiryu can't do it, we need someone else to do the job. Someone fairly well informed about information science too. And also someone who can help right now. Oh, the two of them looked at me at the same time. Huh? You mean me? I guess that wasn't a very hard problem. Think you can do it, Okabe? No, I don't know about this. You're perfect. It's pretty similar to your major, so you can ask solid questions. Got enough latent talent for Dr. Leskinen to fall in love at first sight after all. Don't flatter me, I'm just your typical Japanese university student. I'm joking, but I do think you're perfect for the job. No, but... ask for me too. I can pay. Funny. An interview, huh? Give me an opportunity to observe how they lived and also get me some pay. Wasn't a bad idea. And spending enough time at the lab over the holidays that had been cutting into my work hours. I started to dream about going to Victor Contra University too. The chance to work at Maho, the very talented AI engineer, was invaluable. A lot of people probably would have paid money for it. I'll do it. I'm interested in your work too. You want my help? I'll be glad to. Thanks. That really is a big help. Thank you. Alright, let's start. Kiryu, how are we going to get this down? I'll record it. But we get to get a voice recorder put in on the desk. Delete, right? Yes. Talk freely. I'll edit it later. Should I ask? Excuse me? Just so we're clear, I don't know how much more about AI than your average Japanese person. I can just talk about whatever occurs to me, but why don't we make it a discussion format? That would be more interesting, I'm sure. The second she said those words, my mind filled with memories of the past. Well, sure. A discussion format would make things more interesting. Okabe, what's wrong? You okay? Both Maho and Moika were staring at me confused. Don't want to do it that way. No, it's just fine. Sorry, I just remembered when Kurisu said the same thing as you. Kurisu did? When? She came to Japan. She gave a speech at the ATF on the time machine. No, she didn't. It happened in another world line? In this world line, Kurisu died before she ever gave that lecture at the time machine, or came to the lab. No, I must have been mistaken. Sorry for getting things off track. Don't worry about me. Yeah, I guess that's okay. So where do we begin? You see, research into artificial intelligence began almost at the same time computers were born. The core of the AI we're creating is based off of what's called neural network technology. This technology was first proposed in the 1950s. ENIAC is the world's first von Neumann architecture-based computer. It was announced to the world in 1946, so basically at the same time, right? At that time, computers were basically magic. Once the program was done, it would automatically solve any problem for you, no matter how complicated. Well, it's still true today. So scientists at the time decided if they wrote a program that was even more amazing, it could solve even more problems. They felt that the ultimate evolution of the computer would be one that could think and learn like a human. But unfortunately, they were unsuccessful. Even now in the 21st century, we've been unsuccessful in creating an AI with general purpose intelligence like a human. Of course, it's not like we've been sitting on our butts or doing anything. It's the exact opposite. We failed to create the ultimate artificial intelligence, but we've succeeded in bringing all kinds of benefits to the field of information science. For example, OCR technology, which scans an image and reads the letters on it, is similar to the methods that humans use to recognize letters. I've heard some rumors that before long, smartphones are going to have voice recognition built into them too. There's also a field of study in AI research. Even 60 years after the field got its start, no one's succeeded in creating an artificial intelligence that has the comprehensive capabilities of a human. Except for Amadeus, of course. No one succeed. I suppose the simplest way to say it would be that we don't know how the brain works. Maho tapped her temple with her index finger. There's still a lot about the brain we don't know. Can a biocomputer made of just 100 billion neurons possess such power? Was it capable of recording and instantly accessing such a huge volume of information? Is it capable of things like insight, where two seemingly unconnected events are put together? I could come up with all kinds of examples. There are a lot of problems that humans can solve easily, but that computers can't solve at all. There are? Plenty. You can see that our job is going through each one and solving it in turn. I think I'm having a little trouble seeing what you're getting at. Can you give me a concrete example? Maybe I'll tell you about the frame problem. Let's say Kiryu was a robot. Moika had been taking notes, but she suddenly jerked up when her name was said. I'm a robot? More accurately, the AI loaded into a robot. Kiryu, I'd like to use the table. Can you move the voice recorder a little? Moika moved the voice recorder from the table to the floor. Maho started to rummage through her bag as she did so. Sure, it's in here. Oh, here we go. She took out a small white box, small enough to fit inside her tiny hands. She opened it and extracted the contents. It was an upa, the same thing Mayuri collected. Maho handed it to me, so I took it and touched it. It had the texture of an eraser. Mayuri gave this to me yesterday. Cute, huh? See? I never quite understood what girls, particularly Mayuri, would find cute. I returned the upa to her. She put it back in the box, closed the lid, and put the box in the center of the table. I'm going to do a simple experiment right now. Okabe, order Kiryu to take the upa out of the box. For her? That's right, she's an AI, so just send her a program so that she'll perform the right movements. Right movements. It should be as simple as and as specific as possible. For example, there are a lot of boxes in this room. They tell her to open the one on the table and not any of the others. Only get to send words, no pointing and saying this box. Here you do exactly what Okabe orders you to. Do only what he says, as faithfully as possible, got it? Okay. Start the experiment. Okabe, go ahead and give your orders. I didn't quite get the point of all this, but I decided to just say the first thing that came into my mind. Open the pure white box on the table. Take out the contents. Here you, that's your order. Open the pure white box on the table, take out the contents. Do as you were told, as faithfully as possible. Mika's gaze moved from that to the box on the table. I can't. Huh? I have to open the box, right? I pointed to the box in the center of the table, uncertain as to what was going on. Mika just looked back at me, clearly upset. Baho nodded, satisfied. She can't help it, look. Baho picked the box up and showed me the other side. What is this? Der Althunrifnik. God does not play dice, something Einstein said. If you couldn't open the box because of this, right? Right. Huh? Is it? Why? What about those words? It means you couldn't follow the instructions. It wasn't pure white. Huh? Hear you. You're exactly corrected. Okabe's orders were to open the pure white box and take out the contents, right? This box isn't pure white. It's got something written on it. Why she wasn't able to open it. Computers aren't like humans. They're only capable of doing exactly what they're told. You need to be extremely careful with how you order them. Baho put the box back on the table. I couldn't see the letters from where I was. We try it again? Okabe, try to come up with some appropriate orders based on all of which you've just learned. I see. In other words, the problem was that I put pure white when I should have had right? That's right. Should try making it simpler. Open the box on the table and take out the contents. Here you do what Okabe orders you to do, exactly what he said. Nothing more, nothing less. I turned her gaze once again from me to the box on the table. I can't do it. Now what's the problem? Momika's brow wrinkled a little as she pointed at the box on the table. This isn't a box. What? Maho burst out laughing as she couldn't contain herself any longer. Her smile seemed more childlike than ever. Kiryu, you're a wonderful test subject. I didn't think it would go this well. I had no idea what was going on. What do you mean? Baho turned the box around and explained the trick to me. This is not a box. I wrote something on it. These words meant that Kiryu couldn't tell for sure if it was a box or not, so she couldn't open it, right? Right. No. Doesn't matter what it says, a box is a box, right? An AI doesn't know that. You need to tell it exactly what a box is. This experiment, we assumed that Robo Kiryu had a basic idea of what a box was. But as you've just seen, adjust the information they receive even a little, and an AI won't do what you want it to. Also, there's only this one box on the table. But if there were a square stone that looked just like a box, you'd need an order to differentiate the two. If the stone was on top of the box, you'd first need to give it an order to move it too. Need to remove each possibility, one by one. You'd never be done, huh? Yep, never. I don't know what conditions can affect the AI's judgment, so you need to include every possibility you can think of. There we go. What did you have for breakfast today? Breakfast today? What's this about? Jam bun? Do you have any choices besides jam bun for breakfast? A meat bun? If you've chosen the meat bun, your actions might have changed. You need to take that into account too. Also, there's the weather as well. It's clear out today, but if it was raining, you might have to take that into account. There's also the temperature and humidity of the room. The color of the table is important as well. Also, you need to measure the height from the floor and know what type of material it's made out of. That curtain's open, but what if it was closed? You'd also need to test the cases where it was half open, and 75% open individually as well. Cleanliness of the curtain might play a factor too. When's the last time it was cleaned? You also need to consider how much you paid and the cleaner's attitude as parameters. And... Stop. I had to stop her before she went any further. There's no way this morning's breakfast could influence whether or not she picks a box up on the table. Let alone how clean the curtain is. Just take them off the list? Maho's eyes began to shine. That's it. That's exactly right. Huh? Exactly right, Okabe. Breakfast and the weather have nothing to do with opening a box. Then... But how did you know that? Huh? Well, I mean normally. And then finally understand the point of this experiment, Maho nodded satisfied. That's right, and AI doesn't know what normal is. I see. The frame problem. AI needs to consider an endless number of attached conditions to know how to execute an order. The vast majority of those conditions can probably be ignored, but the AI doesn't know which to ignore. Which means it has to consider everything. But everything is an infinite set, isn't it? If it has to examine an infinite number of conditions, it will never be able to pick up that box. A human knows without having to think that breakfast and the table's color have nothing to do with opening a box. But an AI doesn't. A human can easily frame which conditions need to be accounted for, but an AI can't. So that's the frame problem. I see. Interesting. Isn't it? Why are humans able to create a frame? We have an idea. It's been one of the mysteries of the AI field for 60 years. One of the goals of the Amadeus project is solving the frame problem. Look at Kurisu, it may feel like she's solved it. We don't know how. In fact, neither does she. No, didn't you make Amadeus? Give you a dozen hypotheses if you want them. We've got no mathematical proof. Anyway, what I made was the mechanism for extracting and digitizing human memories, and an AI that executed them like a human brain. It's a total simulation of the brain. That doesn't mean we know how everything works. We know that if you create an object with the same mass as the Earth, it will have gravity equal to 1g. But that doesn't mean we know how gravity works. Is that easier to understand? Not a lot easier, but I see what you're getting at. You've created an AI that works like a human, but how it works like a human you don't know. That's right. But that's still a huge advance in AI research. Research to simulate the functions of a neuron has been going on for a long time. Never found a way to create data that could function effectively. Data is a complicated intertwined web of everything that humans need categorized and stored in their brains over decades. In other words, memories. Exactly, the structure of memories has been a mystery for a long time. Thanks to Kurisu's research, we were able to extract an entire set of memories and digitize them. We still don't know how the data itself is stored, but we know how to use it now. That's Amadeus. Yes, that's right. Happens a lot in AI research. But someday I'm going to find out what human intelligence really is. And Kurisu, I'll finally... Maho suddenly fell silent in the middle of her sentence. What's wrong? Nothing. Is there anything else you want to know? It doesn't have to be about the frame problem. There's a lot I wanted to ask, but it felt like we had more than enough for Moika's article. I looked at Moika, who hesitated a second before speaking. What is it, Kiryu? Is it possible for artificial intelligence to surpass human capabilities? An interesting question. In terms of knowledge, Amadeus probably surpassed anyone in this room. She has Kurisu's memories after all. There's no matching the knowledge of a genius. I had gone up against Kurisu any number of times and learned that the hard way. But That's just comparing her to us. Memories for Kurisu come from Kurisu herself. In other words, they're human memories. We probably need to think about whether this can truly be considered surpassing a human's capabilities. But it won't be long before we've got an AI that does more than a human can, I think. Scientists have been saying for a while that by 2050, AIs will surpass humanity. They call it Singularity Point, you see. Amadeus' arrival should bring that day much, much closer than we anticipated. Thank you. You're welcome. A machine that's better than a human? Huh. Seems like something out of a movie. Is that possible? It's hard to believe I'm hearing that from an engineering student. You can't fly an airplane, can you? And you can't run faster than a bullet train, or do math as fast as a cheap calculator. Even right now, the abilities of a machine far exceed those of a human. Nobody can say that brain will be the only exception. There's no miraculous mechanism in the world that science can't explain. It's all physical phenomena, you see. Once you know the underlying principles, you can recreate it artificially. Help us to solve the riddles we don't have answers for and make a true AI. Does that work for an interview, Kiryu? Moika just stares at her memo pad and didn't look up. You? Yes, this is plenty. I'm sure it'll be an interesting article. Thank you, Okabe. Yeah, it was really interesting. I wanted to talk a little more, but both Maho and Moika seemed to have work to do, so I decided to leave. It's a physical phenomena, huh? Well, that's exactly the way most AI researchers did. There were no black boxes in the human brain, but I knew the truth. Things inside the brain that science couldn't explain. What the hell is reading Steiner anyway? Was it ever going to be scientifically explained? Wah! Oh, oops. Maho quickly choked back her yawn and looked around to see if anyone saw her. There were other people doing the same thing. She was leaning up against the railing of the bridge and killing time, of course. They were all too focused on themselves to pay her any mind. She planned on spending the day at Ferris's house, taking care of paperwork left over from the office's temporary closure. This morning she'd gotten a call from Dr. Leskinen that he sent her hurrying to Tokyo Denki University. Tokyo Denki had, it seemed, offered them a temporary room at the school while their office was closed. Dr. Leskinen had called Dr. Izuki at Tokyo Denki, who had given it to them without a second thought. So now she had decided to pay the new office a visit and discuss what they had planned to do for the future. The Kondo campus for Tokyo Denki University wasn't that far away from Akihabara, it seemed. It was a nice day out, though. The sky that poked out between the buildings had the clear color that was unique to winter. She spent the whole of yesterday cooped up inside her room, so the cold air felt good. She crossed her arms, reached upwards. Sure is late, though. The reason she was standing here was that she was waiting for Moika. Oh, there she is. Sorry, almost there. No hurry, take your time. Ferris came out. She didn't have to come all this way. Maho didn't know how the way to Tokyo Denki, so Moika had kindly offered to take her there. She'd asked for something in exchange. I could take a picture of you, Dr. Maho. I want to put it in the article. Maho didn't really like having her picture taken, but if Moika was nice enough to interview her, she wanted to do everything she could to help. Moika had gone back to her home to get her camera. She said it was close enough to walk, so Maho had decided to just wait. Was always so excited on Rhine, though. Closed her phone and looked up, then saw Moika directly under the bridge running towards her. Sorry to keep you waiting, Dr. Maho. You didn't need to hurry so much. Want to take a break? No, I'm fine. Moika went around in front of Maho and started to walk ahead. The year had just started, and the subway was empty. Decided to take a closer look at Moika, who was standing next to her, grabbing onto one of the handles. Moika realized she was being watched and tilted her head. Then she took out her phone and started to type. Maho's phone suddenly rang at the bottom of her bag. She just received a Ryan message. What's up? I see, so we can talk on the train like this. It feels strange talking to you and Ryan when you're right next to each other. You didn't look like you were doing well. It may have just been my imagination. This expression didn't change much, but Maho thought she didn't mean she had no feelings. She looked into Moika's thin, pretty eyes. She could see that she was an interested observer of many things. That's what you'd expect from a writer. Sorry to worry you. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure you get Dinkayu. It's weird being called Dr. Yahoo. It's weird? Yep. You don't have to call me doctor both in the real world and on Ren. Let's be a little more informal. Then what do I call you? Just call me by my name. What you do for Okabe? That's because he's a student. You can treat me as the same way. We'll be roommates for a while. How about we call each other Moika and Maho? Never tell by looking at them, but Maho and Moika were only a year apart. Maho was 21 and Moika 20, which meant that she was the older of the two. Maho couldn't help but wonder what kind of deal you had to make with God to get that height and those voluptuous breasts. No way. I never call anyone by their first name. I'd be too nervous. How about Kiryu? And Yahoo. He's been one of the few friends I got in Japan. Got it, will do. Okay. Try saying it now. Yuka suddenly jerked upright and opened her eyes wide. You here now? Yeah. Moika nodded at... Maho nodded at Moika's whispered question. Yes, if we're doing it, but like I just said. Really? I thought you were just nervous because Okabe was with us last night. You're the kind of person who gets nervous around the opposite sex. It's true that when I talk to men, I get even more nervous. In other words, well, since we're both girls, I know. How about this? When it's just the two of us, I'll be less bored with someone to talk to. If you're going to be a writer for a magazine, you should emote. Okay, I'll do my best. Moika seemed to steel herself and then turned towards Maho. Hi. Yahoo. Thank you for your help with this. Yeah, you too, Kiryu. Train arrived at the station. Area around Tokyo Denkai was quiet. Moika told her that the surrounding area was offices and government buildings, which meant at this time of year there was almost no one around. Felt bad, but decided to leave Moika wait outside. School was still on break, so she could have waited in one of the rooms on campus, but Moika had refused. Okay, I'll call you when I get out. Split up with Moika. Maho got very lost on her way to Isaki's lab. It was completely empty because of the break, so she couldn't ask anyone. In the end, she had to call Dr. Leskinen and get detailed instructions. A letter was taped to the door marked Dr. Isaki's lab. The letter had a photo of smiling Dr. Leskinen, along with some low-resolution text that looked like it was directly printed from a PC screen. For immediate release, Global Brain Science Comprehensive Research Organization Japanese Office Prep Room. Founder of this establishment, Alexis Leskinson, has a request. Everyone who saw this donated just $1. I could eat a can of Odin right now. He loves this stuff so much. No matter how formal the setting, when the professor wanted to tell a joke, he'd do it. He really was just like a child. His carefree personality let Maho and Kurisu relax and enjoy their work. Suddenly remembering Kurisu made her heart ache a little. She suddenly realized that her sudden change of address, coupled with living with a person she'd barely even met, was taking its toll on her. Today, she'd finally get the chance to talk to her again. More accurately, the memories she'd left behind. Professor? Dr. Leskinen? Stepped inside the lab and called the professor's name. The giant in the back came running to greet her. Hey, Maho, thanks for coming. Welcome to our powered-up prep room. Huh? This table and 2 sofas at the powered-up prep room, huh? Yes, they say simplicity is the secret key to the truth, do they not? What's that? I do. Professor clapped his hands and laughed. Maho ignored him and went to sit on the sofa. He didn't seem hurt. Now then, how about our future plans? Oh, sorry, I want to boot up Amadeus, just give me a second. Took out her laptop and put it on the table. Her OS, a Linux variant customized for research purposes, booted up and displayed the login screen. Maho typed in her account name, the same way she'd done 1,000 times before. Larry. The moment, she stared at the letters in her account name. She quickly put in the password and called up the desktop. Before long, Kurisu appeared on the screen. Been a long time, Maho. Long time? We just talked 2 days ago. It's an emergency, it didn't count. Even besides that, we haven't got to talk much lately. Not my fault, we were testing. During Okabe and Kurisu's communication test, Maho and Dr. Leskinson had avoided talking to Amadeus to keep from adding noise to the experiment. Not that Okabe's talked to me a lot lately, though. Two may be meeting without telling me? We're together 2 days ago, after all. Well, I told you, it's not like that. You get those delusions that everything in the world is about romance. It's not a delusion, it's a highly accurate hypothesis, based off of calm, dispassionate observation and analysis. If you like this stuff so much, maybe you should have majored in it. Though given how totally wrong you are, you probably wouldn't have graduated, let alone get your doctorate. Dr. Leskinen brought his hands together in an exaggerated motion. Feels like it's been so long since I've seen this. It used to be I could always find you wherever you were on campus. Because I'd always hear you yelling at each other. Come on, Professor, stop joking around. It just means that you're very close. You two are like sisters. Now let's get this meeting started. We need to talk about our future plans. The person who uses their time most efficiently wins. That's another of my great quotes. I want some music. Kurisu, can you play me something? Sure. A soft piano melody began to play from the laptop speakers. This. Maho, do you remember? It's the song that brought us together. It would have brought them together a year ago, and it was the symbol of their relationship. A year ago, in September of 2009, Kurisu had officially joined the Brain Science Institute. She had completed the graduate school's doctorate program in May of that year, and had only turned 17 in July. Maho herself had joined the Brain Science Institute at an extremely young age, but her record had been beaten by quite a lot. Kurisu was a genius. Everyone who met her could tell. Dr. Leskinen had been Kurisu's advisor during the program, so Maho had met her several times. That was enough to tell her that Kurisu was different. Kurisu never showed her her own talents. Actually, she didn't seem to think of herself as particularly intelligent at all. That actually made it a little hard for the people around her to approach her. When you talked to Kurisu, you were forced to realize that there was a gap between you and her that could never be erased. I learned later from Dr. Leskinen that things had been the same in grad school. Rumor that the real reason she'd come to America from Japan at the age of 11, no matter what she wanted no matter where she lived. She was cut off from the people around her. It was what it meant to be a genius like her. Since Maho was a girl too, close to her in age, she actually considered Kurusu more of a rival. Since they were working in the same field, they were going to be compared, and she didn't want to lose. Maybe that was why Maho had never thought of going to talk to her. Kurusu was so busy learning how to work at the lab, she'd never come to talk to Maho. But then 2 weeks after Kurusu came to the lab, a certain classical song had changed their relationship forever. And play. Two types of people in the world. Those who worked better with music, and those who worked better with silence. From a brain science perspective, the idea that you could concentrate better with music was sheer nonsense. Whether you were aware of it or not, the sound was vibrating your eardrums and your brain was continually analyzing it. Or even a public debate on the subject, Maho would want to take the first position. Theory and feelings were different. You could concentrate best with music in the background, and you could be more creative. But there was one condition. The song has to be composed by Mozart. Maho whispered to herself as she turned towards the computer. She had been running a patch on some equations for 2 full days and had finally completed today. She was going to spend the whole day analyzing the output. It was Saturday, and she was the only person in the lab. That was the one day she had the whole huge space to herself. She decided to play Mozart's 11th Sonata from the speakers, not her headphones. She didn't intend to pay for any attention to the music. This was more like a ritual she needed in order to concentrate. The warm-up exercise before she could dive into a sea of numbers and equations. Once she dove in, she wouldn't need it anymore, so she simply stopped hearing it. Stopped seeing everything around her too. What she saw was the numbers and equations. All that was in her head were number and equations. All that was left was a thinking machine named Maho Iyaho. Her mind left behind the bonds of a physical body, and the speed of her thoughts accelerated towards the infinite. It was time for another fun journey. Good morning. Yeah. Someone suddenly whispered in her ear, and Maho jumped out of her chair, lost her balance, and fell. He looked up and saw Kurusu standing down at her, beginning to panic. I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd be so surprised. Kurusu? Don't scare me like that. I called your name a bunch of times, but you didn't seem to hear me. Oh. Maho stood up and sat back in her chair. Sorry, I was focusing on so much I didn't hear you. Yeah, I thought so. Then you should have just left me alone. Maybe Kurusu could tell she was thinking that. Maybe she quickly added. I felt bad about it, but since I'd run into you on a weekend, I thought I should say something. And you seemed like you just started, so I didn't think I'd be a bother. Just get here? Yeah, I thought you'd be the only one here. I'm surprised. Maho realized something was strange. You said you just got here, right? So how did you know I'm only just started working? Oh, because... Kurusu pointed to the speakers. You're still at the start of the first movement. K331, Mozart Piano Sonata No. 11 in A major first movement. Like Mozart? I just know a little about him. It's really more than I just like this song. The Turkish March is more popular, but melody in the first movement feels so much more pleasant, doesn't it? I agree. I'm so glad. Whenever I'm really trying to focus, I put Mozart on in the background. Not a very scientific thing to do, I know. Maho couldn't help but laugh as she realized Kurusu was saying the same thing she'd said earlier. 2 weeks since Kurusu had joined the team, Maho hadn't been quite sure how to deal with her. Now she wanted to know a little more. So she used the signal her coworkers always used when they wanted to take breaks. Want to get some coffee? Sounds great. A bunch of stuff I wanted to ask you. She watched Kurusu follow her, filled with energy. She was reminded of the pet dog she used to have. And later she would realize that was one of the things that made Kurusu cute. Got 2 hot coffees from the lab coffee machine, and the 2 of them talked about their research for a while. It's been a strange sight, 20-year-old Maho and 17-year-old Kurisu, debating the latest developments in cerebral physiology while drinking coffee out of paper cups. The 2 of them realized that since they'd never had someone of the same sex and age to work with, these conversations were a big help to both of them. Having the older Maho around must have been a particularly big help to Kurisu. Once in a while, Kurisu would still call her senpai, a Japanese word for upperclassman or more senior colleague. You know, I once heard that Einstein liked to play the violin. He seemed to have a lot of respect for Mozart. Maybe it's a tradition for scientists to like Mozart. If that's true, then it's an honor. After a short debate about their work, the 2 of them talked about Mozart until they finished their coffee. After she'd had a real conversation with Kurisu, Maho realized that she was totally different than her first impression. Every time she spoke, she'd smile or pout. It was adorable to watch. The only thing she had in common with most people, and her age, was her appearance. She was a genius. You know what Einstein said when someone asked him what death meant to him? No? What did he say? Death means not getting to listen to Mozart anymore. It's a fairly famous phrase in Japan. Death means not getting to listen to Mozart anymore. The more romantic phrase than she'd expect from the Einstein she thought she knew. I had no idea. Einstein said that, huh? No, he didn't. Huh? Well, to be completely accurate, we can't prove that he didn't say it, but at least there are no records of it. What do you mean? Ryu smiled and put her finger up to her lips. The book that was published in Japan a long time ago had that phrase as a quote from another biography. The Japanese book didn't specify which biography they get the quote from, and no one has ever found it. The author made it up? Sheesh. We can't prove that, so we can't be totally sure. But I think these words are very much a logical man like Einstein, or what a logical man like Einstein would say. Logical? Yes, because once you're dead, you can't listen to Mozart, right? Of course not. Yes, of course not. Once you're dead, you can't listen to anything at all, not just Mozart. Thus the statement's true. See? Logical, right? Very interesting, you know that? Intelligence and childless, all wrapped up in the same brain. I'm not childish. Sorry. I know it's a bit late, but it's a pleasure to be working with you, Kurisu. Maho offered her hand. Kurisu took it with a smile. Kurisu's hand was warm. You too, Maho. Mozart had brought the 2 of them together. Kurisu was a child beloved by God. Everyone was amazed and astonished by her unmatched creativity. Everyone, including, of course, Maho. Something. It felt like she had to remember something important. Good morning. Hiya! Someone suddenly whispered in her ear, and Maho jumped off the sofa. Kurisu was right. At some point, Dr. Leskinen had picked up the laptop and taken it behind Maho's back. Kurisu was on the screen laughing at her. Evidently, the professor had brought it close to Maho's ears and made Kurisu whisper to her. We're just in your concentration mode, weren't you? No matter how many times the professor called your name, you wouldn't come out of your little world. Oh. Sorry. I'm impressed that you can continue research even while this emergency is going on. The professor put the laptop back on the table and sat on the sofa across from her. They started the meeting, then discussed their future plans with the professor. One of the options that came up was going back to America. They kept bugging Maho the whole time during the meeting. She was remembering how she met Kurisu. She was also remembering something else. Celery. Maho's user account name. She picked it a month after Kurisu had died. For some reason, she couldn't stop thinking about it. After she finished her meeting with Dr. Leskinen and left the school, she realized it had started to rain. Huh? So it did rain. Fans weather reports are surprisingly accurate. If Kiryu stopped in some shop somewhere. just as she went to take out her phone and send a message to her, she got a message of her own from Kurisu. Tell me about Okabe next time. I had fun. I've said this before. Frog lips. Was about to snap and say something back when she saw Moika in a field of vision. She opened her folding umbrella and was crouching by the side of the road with her phone out. Maho approached, she saw a flower blooming between the asphalt and the shrubbery. Moika was trying to take a picture of it. Sorry, Kiryu, I'm done. Moika looked up and opened her mouth hesitantly. Maho. Maho was happy that she'd said her name. Thought you were taking pictures of the flowers? Yeah. Moika nodded and looked back toward the ground. There was a tiny flower blooming where the asphalt met, the shrubbery. There was no other flower like it in view. The wind must have brought it here. The flower's color was striking, but something, perhaps the rain, made it look sickly. It took a picture of it. Another, and another. The umbrella in her hand seemed to be stopping her from taking a good picture. Need to hold your umbrella? No, I'm fine. Fine, it's fine. Maho practically yanked the umbrella out of Moika's hand. Thank you. You're welcome. Moika used both hands to steady her camera. Then, when it came into focus, she pressed the button. A moment later, she stood up, satisfied. I got a good photo. I'm all set. Getting ready for my portrait? Moika shook her head. I can't take a picture. It's raining. I always take pictures of landscapes. You like taking photos? Moika shook her head again. It's proof of where I was today. Proof? Yeah. What do you mean? Then she heard the sound that meant she'd received a Ryan message. Is that from Kurisu again? I got one too. It's from Ferris. Ferris? Disaster. 314th prophecy of Fatima has come to pass. The hearts of men have lost the will to believe. It's only a matter of time before the dark God, not only the earth, some of the House of Lords and Senate. Immediately, the president is missing. I'll start the ceremony to seal him away once more. I want you to buy time for me until it finishes. What are you talking about? That was a joke. But really. What happened? I'll explain later. There's a critical mission I want you to do before you head back to the condo. Both Maho and Moika looked at each other, confused by Ferris' strange message. Welcome both of you, Nya. The time limit approaches, but there's still time, Nya. Is everything ready, Nya? It's ready. Yes. Let us begin, Nya. This operation name is... All Night Cinderella Girl Secret Party Shocking Sleepy Confessions, Nya. What's wrong with you two? You're so low energy, Nya. We don't get many chances to have a girls' night. Let's have fun, yeah? I guess we can. I didn't think that the important mission you had for us was skipping dinner. Two of them had suddenly gotten a message that Ferris was having a girls' party that night. Ferris had asked them to skip dinner so that they'd have empty stomachs for the party. Both Maho and Moika had done so. Okay, eat whatever you want, yeah. I bought something a little pricey for cakes and ice cream, yeah. Ferris started to rummage through the plastic convenience store bags with a smile. Normally Ferris acted like she was rich, and in fact she was rich, so she could have easily purchased the most expensive cake that either of them had ever tasted. She realized that the right cakes and ice cream for a party like this were the ones you get at a convenience store. She purchased them there.